You think Pickett's the guy, quarterback? Do you think Kenny Pickett has locked it up sort of as that top, even though everybody talks about that he's going to have the smallest hands in the NFL when he gets drafted?
Yeah, I sort of wondered. I thought, there's just this fascination with Malik Willis. Like, what could he be? We know there's a lot of work to do, but the more people I talk to, the more, and you ask teams that probably aren't going to be in a position to draft these guys, maybe get a little bit truer opinion. And, of course, they all want the a team not picking a quarterback like a Kansas City or a Buffalo or whoever, they're set. They'd love to see 4 quarterbacks go ahead of them, right? That would be great. But I still think there's a pretty earnest sort of feeling that like Kenny just has the fewest questions, right? The hand size thing, if you want to point to the fumbles and say that was a result of small hands, and he had the 2 gloves, and then during the rain game, he took one off and he sort of fits him with him in a little bit. But I think overall you'd probably feel safest with him, but also there might be a little more upside than people are willing to give credit for. And, Malik Willis is right now a lottery ticket. He could be really, really special, but he also requires a really good spot where he's developing properly and the expectations are reasonable for when he finally does play.
Right. Like a Trey Lance type situation where Lance, it's like,
that's a great comp for it. Yeah. Not player comp, but situation comp. Yeah. Exactly.
Like it wouldn't be the worst thing if he runs into a situation like with Shanahan where it's like, all right, 100%. We'll sit him for a year. We'll get him where we need it.
Matt Ryan in Atlanta or whatever. One of those deals where next year, right? Yeah. Right. That's the kind of deal. Yep.
The Pickett thing. I mean, I know it's a sore spot with him, but I would be lying if I said, but we're shooting a pod today and I texted a guy, he called me and I texted him. I said, shooting the pod, and he said something about, talk about Kenny Pickett, and he sent me the Zach Galifianakis gif with the tiny hands.
Yes, I know exactly.
Dude, I started laughing so hard, like I couldn't help it. I just could.
I think he's probably on the Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins spectrum. That's what I think he is, which is still pretty good.
Andy Dalton I know everybody kills it. He had some good years in Cincinnati, okay?
Yep.
And
Pro Bowl, low end, yep.
Kirk Cousins you could do worse than cranking out a,
70%, 4,000 yard. Yeah.
15 to 20-ish quarterback who does nothing but crank out a ton of numbers for you. And can certainly, if you surround him with all the right pieces, is probably capable of, being a Super Bowl quality quarterback. So look, I'm sorry, but if Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, all these guys people don't like, were Super Bowl quarterbacks. And by the way, they were both pretty close. Like people still don't give either of those guys credit for. There were a couple of plays. Jared Goff with the Rams and Jimmy Garoppolo with the 49ers. Yeah. There were plays that were close to helping them win those Super Bowls. And absolutely. I think people don't give them, credit for the fact that they both could have had rings, and Kirk Cousins could, and maybe Kenny Pickett, and some of these other players that can crank out numbers. You just got to have great teams around them. So